everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. We got another music show from our Newburyport studios today. You know how much I like this, and our guest today is a first-timer out of Indianapolis, Indiana, Joshua Powell. Take it away.
Fear and loathing in the glade, the reptilian arousal, hot beneath the collar, the lush of summer's cactus blossoming crush on me, according to palmetto leaves. But there's a seer in this swamp, I'm sure he wouldn't mind some company. I'm his meek as Mars, but get it right, but with the rage. Born of a cluster engagement. Ooh, you upset? I'm upset. Don't be upset, baby. I wish it could have been somewhere in Chicago. I built your castle from the corpses of a million tiny seahorses and shells, barnacles up in the belfry. But now, how fractured I feel, I've become an electric eel inside a pool of blackos, and I'm cool with it. In my catatonia, you came to me from mid a forest fire. Said I'm only stepping through for the night, and we can order pad thai. Oh, oh, oh. And settle in and have a long talk. So you're not coming out. Have I always been so dumb? How couldn't I see this coming? Ooh, are you upset? Yeah, I'm upset. Don't be upset, baby. I gotta tell these cryptid kids their mamas ain't coming. Well, tell me what's a girl to do when Satan shows up on your stoop. I'm at a loss. He is inverting all my crosses. Turns out to be a lovely dude. I wanna show off my home studio, and we bond over which Black Sabbath LPs we dig. Old scratch with stingray bass in hand, and I make up a metal band so full of fuzz, so down-tuned that it's disgusting. I've got a spot we can rehearse, so cool, crepuscular wished that you could laugh over the credits of a slasher film.
Thanks.
All right. Joshua Powell out of Indianapolis. Welcome to the Newburyport studios here, man. How are you?
I'm terrific, Drew. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out. You enjoying your abbreviated stay so far in Newburyport? I know you just got here.
I drove in and arrived here 5 minutes prior to this moment, and it's been the best 5 minutes of my whole life.
Oh, that is incredibly sweet of you. Well, thank you so much for doing it. I know you're busy cramming a bunch of shows in the area, including Newburyport, but Boston. Did you have a good time in the big city of Boston?
I forgot how big it is, man.
Yeah, I know.
I hadn't been out there since before the pandemic, and when you're thinking about touring the East Coast cities, you know you're going to have a tricky time in New York, just navigating, and then you know you probably have a hard time finding a place to park in Philly, and then the rest of them are kind of a blur, because those are the ones that I get scared about. And then I was driving around Boston last night for 45 minutes looking for a place to park, and I was like, yo, this is also a big city.
Yes, yeah, and you know, this might make you feel a little better. So I lived in Boston for like 4 or 5 years, and I grew up just outside, so I know it well. I have not gone in much like since the pandemic either. Just, you know, we were in hard quarantine for a while. Whatever the reason, I'm not living there anymore. I'm kind of here, and I cannot get around there myself anymore. It's like they build new things, and like roads are different. I was like, wait a minute, it's been like 2 years. You know, when did this happen? So it's not an easy city. It does have. It feels a little bit more. It feels bigger to me than like it did 5-6 years ago. Actually,
it's also such an old city, and so a lot of it's like in Europe, all the old cities are built before the prevalence of the motor car. So like when you have a van that you're trying to navigate those cities that were built for horses, it's not ideal.
Yes, not ideal. And I would tell you to use your public transit, but that's not ideal here either.
Well, it's definitely not ideal for when I'm my own booking agent either.
That's true. That is true. How is life on the road these days? You enjoying it?
Oh man, it is medicine to be back doing it this way. I started touring with a band last year again, but this is my first time doing a solo trip like this since before the plague times, and I had a couple friends check in and say, how have the shows been, you know, and I said, well, it's tour, so 50-50, you know. So I had 3 certified bangers and 3 wet farts.
Is that how it goes? Yeah.
Well, you know, no shows are good on Monday. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a town and people say, oh, Newburyport, it's tough on Tuesday nights. And I'm like, no, bud, everywhere's tough on Tuesday nights. People aren't going out to hear indie acts they've never heard of. And, you know, it's just it's a hard sell. But I love doing this work, and every night that, you know, sell a couple records and get a couple follows and do that Bernie Sanders walking around grassroots, just shaking hands, kissing babies, spreading the good word, man. You know,
the Bernie Sanders, I like that.
It's a fun way to see like it's like mowing the lawn, dude. It's like hard work, but then you step back and you go, look, I accomplished something.
Yes. No, that's well said. And it's probably, I don't know, do you get like that rush of a whole room of people who maybe don't? It's probably great to have people singing your songs and, you know, people who have followed you, that sort of thing. But it must be kind of a rush, like, all right, here's a room of people. They don't know me.
Yeah.
I don't know them. Let's try to impress.
In the Midwest, we did a show at the Hi-Fi in Indianapolis like the weekend before we left here, and it was one of those times where just you get the moxie back in your bones. You're like, oh, people do love us. Like there are people singing the lyrics out here and stuff, because it's just hard. You're fighting upstream all the time. But on this tour, there have been a couple nights where I'm like, okay, I see these people out here, and I just have this opportunity as like a conversion point. To be like, I gotta try to catch you right from the beginning, and then I got like 25 minutes to try to convince you that, you know, you want me to be a part of your life going forward.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's cool. Well, we appreciate you making some time for us. I always have to make sure website good for scheduling. If anybody wants to follow you after this, good spot to find you or what?
Normally, our website is a paragon of organization. This tour has just been promoted on social media because we're winding down and not playing any more shows outside of our Indianapolis home market after this weekend.
Okay.
Because we're going to the studio for the winter. So.
Gotcha.
But yeah, JoshuaPowellMusic.com is a fantastic place to see the latest videos and follow tour.
And the social, we were just talking about this off the air. We're all in on them. We love our social media.
All in on social media. Yeah, it's my tag is the same everywhere, Joshua Powell Music. So except Twitter, but that's okay. You don't have to find me on Twitter. It's where I'm the most unfiltered.
If you find them on the other ones, they'll find you. You'll eventually find them on Twitter too. Well, that's good. It is a funny thing that the social media. It's like, do you find as a musician like that? We talked about TikTok. All the kids are using TikTok now. I always joke. I'm like 35. What do you mean all the kids? But yeah. Right. Everybody younger does seem to be using it. And like, there's like Instagram and TikTok stars of like musicians that are like, is that person a star because they're a musician or a star because that like 30 seconds was like funny and clever or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, I can never like, I don't know. Part of it kind of bothers me, but I guess you just have to adjust with it.
I'm always bothered by anything that's not just making records that you have to do in this line of work.
So you get the old school mentality.
For sure, I have an old school sensibility. Like until the day I die, like I got into music because I liked albums. I liked like cohesive storytelling. A band, I like a good sports team. It's like they are because of who's in the band, and so I love bands and their sense of like solidarity and their sense of like branding and designing their thing, and then each album being a new issuance of like we're continuing to tell this story. I love albums.
Yeah, these songs are meant to be listened together.
Right. So people get angry about streaming and they get angry about the singles economy, and now they're getting angry about TikTok. And I'm like, listen, if you're angry, unless you're playing in a great hardcore band, no one's gonna like you, dude. Like you gotta stay sweet and you gotta stay neuroplastic, man. So I'm making freaking TikToks and whatever else, but like it's all in the service of I want to be in the record making business, and so I'll do whatever I gotta do to play the game.
And in the end, you want those people to see something and come to a show so you can really impress them with what you really do, right? That's kind of the goal.
It's also it's a way to mitigate the annoyances of that is to consider how you can take all of your obligations for marketing and stuff and rethink of them as an extension of the art project.
Yeah.
So like when I'm making tweets, I'm like doing it in this weirdo esoteric voice that I've cultivated online, where I like am very flowery with my language and use ornate adjectives and horrific references and all this stuff. And it's so much more fun to write like, come get flecked with the gold dusk of our aural meanderings in the eventide, rather than be like, show at 7 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, and as you play 1,000 shows, writing show at 7 on Tuesday, it's like it takes your life out of you, dude.
Yeah.
It's the same with the TikTok thing. It's like, I don't know, how would I do this? And then if you can reframe it that way, then it no longer feels like you have to do it. It's like you're telling another part of the story.
I already know the answer to this because I find social media to be a grind. I know it can sometimes be a grind. We're talking glowingly about it, but it can be a grind. I do wonder, I'm more interested about, is can touring be a grind? I know you love getting on stage and playing for people, but is it like, I know it can be a battle too. Like what's the current state of touring for you mentally? How's the mental headspace?
I love that this is a work that is never the same. Like that, I could do this forever because every day is so different from the last. There's a real feast or famine sense to it, right?
Yep.
So I don't know all what I'm allowed to say on the radio as far as sharing like rock star type stories, but
keep it PG.
Okay. So I was in one town this last week and stayed up with some people by the names of Becky Fresh, and the man's name was Money. I stayed at their home on a really crusty pullout, and they were sweet, and we stayed up until 4 doing some stuff, and just like jamming, and then
they have you into their home and you jam for them.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just like just met them at the bar as they was closing. They're like, hey, what's I was like, yeah, pull-out couch sounds great. The very next night, I'm sleeping in like a Marriott Bonvoy in Times Square that a fan paid for me to be in. Right.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just like, oh, I'd never be in a hotel like this, on my own dime. So I haven't had a plan any day this last 2 weeks of like, where am I going to end up tonight?
Yeah, that's just recent stories.
Right. Yeah. That's just riding the wave. Man.
Yeah.
When I first started touring, I hadn't been anywhere except Indiana or Florida, and there was 3 of us, and we were young and we're cute, so it was easier when we were young. But we would say on stage, like, if you like us, buy our CD. If you really like us, take us home with you, because we've never been to St. Charles, Missouri.
Yeah.
And that's what we did for like most of our career, until we knew people because of making friends that way, or established what are the good places, what are the hospitable places, what are the least crust punk squat houses that we can stay in. Yeah, man, it just like really refreshes especially in like a bifurcated time of political angst where everyone feels split and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, there are profoundly decent people in every pocket of this country. I have stayed with so many stone cold weirdos and drug people and church people and witch people and they've all been really nice to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of good out there for everybody who's doing that.
And so touring is a grind. There was one time earlier this week where I played a show in the Jersey Shore that finished at 10:30 p.m. My next date was in New Hampshire, but I had read my stuff wrong, and I was like, 11:30, that's a late show. No, it was an early show. It was like a lunchtime show. So I just finished the show, drove halfway to Connecticut, slept in the back of my van at a rest stop, finished up to, and it was done by 3 in the afternoon, and then slept for, the next full day.
The glamour of it all, right?
Yeah, man. Sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it sucks. That's just that's what it is.
You should make a shirt that says that. Your story right there just reminded me. Do you know Martin Sexton at all? He's one of my favorite artists. You go check him out. He's one of my favorites. I think you'd probably like him. But he had a very similar story to you, where he said, I went to see him 6 months ago or so when he came through. And he said, I was watching through all the craziness the last few years, the protests, the pandemic, all this stuff. And I keep seeing in the media, all this horrible stuff about the country. Country's falling apart. I go to every city. And I can't tell you how much good I've seen. It's just not a representative of what I'm seeing on the road. And I was just like, it's an interesting thing to hear from somebody who's bouncing around the country consistently. And you're another one who just said a similar story.
People are not as angry as they are online.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, and we will try not to completely blame the media, I guess, from my point of view. But Drew Moholland here, yes, from WBC, and, from our Newburyport studios, live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. We're having a fun one here. Joshua Powell is in the house out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and enjoying his stay in Newburyport here. You'll have more of a stay afterwards, I'd imagine. Maybe you got an early show when you come through these Newburyport neck of the woods. But what's the East Coast versus the rest of the country? Is there something that drives you, that you like about the East Coast, drives you crazy about the East Coast? Do we bother you in any way?
I'll tell you that I'm not going to pull any punches. Regionally, it's less hospitable than most of the country.
I would guess that, yeah.
It's harder. The reason I'm here too solo rather than full band is because we've done the whole country as a full band. We've checked every pocket of it, right?
Yeah.
But the East Coast, Eastern Seaboard cities, the clubs just pay less on average. You have way more toll roads, denser and higher tolls than anywhere else in the country. Parking is harder and more expensive than everywhere else in the country. And I've never gotten through an East Coast tour without catching at least one ticket for just not knowing rules somewhere, or just, And so generally it's just literally the infrastructure of the region ends up pulling way more cash out of my pocket than anywhere else in the country.
That was a rough review, man.
I mean, everyone I've met's been dope as hell.
Yeah.
The shows have been pretty good.
Yeah.
But just getting around and staying here and stuff. Plus, it's way easier to find people to crash with in Columbus, Ohio than it is in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of, and that's not a personality thing. It's just a real estate thing.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, there's some bigger places out there probably.
Yeah. This tour's been rad, dude. I've played in some bizarre, I played in Northfield, New Hampshire, at the world's only mountain bike park. But it has a ski lift,
I've heard of that.
Take people up the mountain to ride bikes down it. And I played at a bookstore in Soho in Manhattan for a packed house, with all these books behind me as a backdrop. It was so
feels nice, yeah.
Yeah, and then I played at the Middle East, just a very standard show for a touring band.
The epic Middle East, yeah.
But I was delighted to be there because I've heard about it forever, and it's my first time stepping foot in. So
yeah, it's a good little. It's a
I'm
good
trying
thing
to say a bunch of nice stuff about your area because you didn't expect me to be so realistically skating.
No. I expected it. It's good. It's a good answer, and I understand all of it. I completely understand why. And the tolls, they annoy me just on the way to Maine. Never mind driving through the whole East Coast.
That's a lot. Pennsylvania, dude.
Yeah.
It's $70 to drive through PA.
We got to work on this. We're going to write your local politician. If you. All right. Yeah, Joshua Powell, you warned me that your songs are long, so I don't want to shortchange you. Let's make sure we get to another one here. Which one? And we're enjoying this, by the way, here. Again, Joshua Powell in our Newburyport NCM Hub studios playing some music for us. Go find him on, sure. Go tune on up there.
I'll just see if you wanted me to play one song or two songs.
Oh, no, we'll have time for two left. Yeah.
Groovy.
No. He was giving me the signal off the air. I said, oh, yeah, I'll keep talking. Don't worry. I'm good at this. I should say thank you to our team again. Producer Sarah Hayden, the boss. Technical director Ryan Rothberg. And Sarah Blackstone right outside. Multimedia manager. I think she's on the dial today. Yeah, she's here. I have to check to make sure. They're in my back. I have to make sure these people are still here. Everybody's still here. Very good. Joshua Powell in the house from Indianapolis. What are you going to play next?
This is Spirit of the Trailer Park.
All right. Joshua Powell, take it away.
I was working for the county when I saw her standing there with a rib cage like a washboard with briars in her hair. Alabama is a furnace and the summer is a dog. She was naked in the creek bed in the image of her God. On that day at De Los Muertos, I was sitting in a bar with tequila as my mistress when my thoughts all turned to dark. And so I gave up heavy drinking, stitched up my broken mouth, and I felt that old conviction, so I started driving south. Dixon, in the absence of all snow, where the button buck is rutting for the whitetail of the doe. She is toddling in the tall grass, just as timeless as the trees, just as grungy as Seattle, just as holy as a priest. Tugging at my jeans, said you can't ever get to heaven if you don't know what heaven means. It's not peeling like a paint job, it's not brushed under the rug, it's much deeper beneath the floorboards in these trenches that we've dug. The prismatic halo and emaciated legs, she took all my constitution and faded back into the dregs. As the sunset on the trailers of my past and future lives, the magnolias are pregnant, the cicadas harmonize.
Joshua Powell, live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Excellent, man.
Thank you, man.
Sounding good. Those are Well, it's one of those. You're one of those artists that I mean, I try to do this with everybody, but I'm very like tuned into what you're saying, which is a good thing. I'm trying to get every lyric.
That's thank you.
Where's this new guy coming from? I gotta hear every word.
That's I've always felt mostly of myself as a writer, you know.
Yeah.
I've come into like loving music later in life. I've always been a fan of music, but my band and I really push each other
Yeah.
technically and in theory and stuff. And it's only been the last couple of years where I really decided like, oh, I should get great at my instrument.
Yeah.
And that's been a journey, but the lyrics are always like what I care the most about and spend the most time with. And
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful little guitar there too, with some hard lyrics in there too. It's nice little, but it's kind of, I don't know, it almost kind of reminded me of something in like a good way. I don't know, it's nice, nicely done.
Thank you.
And anyway, that's good stuff. You got the applause from outside too. It's always good when you get the applause from outside the studio. That usually means that people are liking it out there. A little bit about yourself, Joshua Powell. What's something we don't know about you that we should know? So it's a fun fact about Joshua Powell.
oh man, just recently I thought, well, that should be a thing that I say when I have to give a fun fact about myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, it's not there now.
You forgot what the fun fact was?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
It's a fun fact.
My, yeah.
It's gone.
So you're too busy.
I'll tell you what I'm reading on tour. Reading Watership Down because I never
Okay.
read it, and I saw the movie in a bar, and the movie looked awesome, and so I was like, oh, the book's always better than the movie, right?
Yeah.
Not the case.
Not always true. Yeah,
The
yeah.
movie is
yeah.
better than the book with Watership Down. And I'm reading The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Essel van der Kolk.
So you're doing a lot of reading on tour.
Well, I do a lot of reading always.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fun fact, I brought my fishing pole on this tour.
Okay,
I was
interesting.
trying to fish and like chill out, but it's been colder than crap.
I saw an Instagram video of you. That's what I was trying to think of fishing. Wait, that's a connection. Where did I see that? Where were you there?
Oh,
So-
that was up in Lake Elmore, Vermont.
You said too cold to fish.
Yeah, yes. yeah. I'm not one of these like barbarians. It's like
No,
oh, it's like I'm up at dawn and like
Yeah.
that's when the fish are biting and like I'm gonna be out there. I just like to stand outside and have a reason to do it.
Is there a lot of good fishing in Indiana?
There's fishing in Indiana. I think it's good because I'm outside.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been catching smallmouth bass by only one of the 3 places that I go to fish. The other 2 I never catch anything. I still go.
Gotcha. Good little fishing port here. Newburyport's got a beautiful water scene.
Well, you know I'm only going to be here one day, so if you have, it's not like I'm going to steal. If you had any sweet tips, I'll take them, and then
Oh,
I won't,
okay.
you know,
You'll
I
get
won't
some-
fish you out.
You'll get some tips. Well, I don't know, but I'm not a good fisherman. I can tell you where to like get a good fish to eat. How about that?
well.
That's good. Some good spots right in the water.
I'm in a new kitchen, so I'll probably eat there.
Okay, there you go. Sure. Yeah, it's always good to eat at the place you're playing, right?
Well, it's usually free, and I'm on tour. So.
that is true too. Again, Joshua Powell joining us. Hope you're enjoying the songs and the conversation here so far. Who are the big influences in your life? What made you pick that thing up and start writing songs? And
My number 1 is Mr. Neil Young.
yeah, I can hear that with you.
It's some of that's just unavoidable as being a white dude who plays an acoustic guitar mostly, but
well said.
what the things I like the most about Neil are the fact that he, I think, spent his entire life couldn't figure out if he wanted to play really quiet music or really loud music, and so he just didn't decide. He just did both the whole time.
Yep.
And I like that. I want to do both.
Yep.
And then after Harvest came out, and everyone's like, "Wow, this album's perfect! Like you've done it. Make another one." He said no. For like 10 years, he said no.
Yeah.
Screw what the critical and commercial expectations are. I want to make this synth pop album about my car. And people are like, "We don't like it." And he was like, "I don't care."
Yeah.
And then he spent the 80s doing that, and then he came back in the 90s, and he's like, "Oh, here's another album that's like this." So people are like, "Whoa, you could do this again?" And he's like, "I could have done it the whole time."
Yeah.
But he's an artist, and he follows his impulses, and I don't know. I love learning to trust an artist like that, because maybe, I thought Trans was bad just like everybody else. Trans being the synth pop album about Neil Young's car.
Yeah.
Dude, and then I gave myself to it, and I listened to it, and I was like, no, this slaps. This record's great. People are just mad because it's not what they thought Neil Young should sound like.
Right.
And you know who's in charge of who Neil Young sounds like? Neil Young.
Neil Young. Yeah.
So that's my thing. I would have said Kanye West until about 5 years ago, because it was the same story for him musically and artistically.
Yeah.
He always just did left turns from what was expected commercially and critically, and then everyone else would spend the next 5 years copying what he had done there.
Yes.
Can't stand behind where he's at now, but
Yeah.
those are the type of David Lynch is my other, obviously not in a musical sense so much as, but Lynch's approach to story and basically his commitment to his own vibe have really informed how I write. Not being so like strictly hewn to following Campbellian narratives and telling like real straight stories. Just like, this is my dream. This is what my dream looks like.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's, I told this story the other day. Let's just jump back to Neil Younge for a second. Did you ever hear the story about Ohio with him? How he wrote that song?
Refresh me.
So Graham Nash, I've heard Graham Nash tell the story, and he said we had Teach Your Children like on the top 10, and like rising, like it was going to be, and we literally knocked ourselves off the charts with Ohio. Like we pushed our rising hit back with Ohio because Neil literally read the Kent State situation, for Dead in Ohio, took his guitar into the woods, walked out of the woods, played the song, and they said, get everybody in the studio now. And like they should have waited a few months because the Teach Your Children was doing so well. Yeah. But they nope, now. No time like the moment, and booted their Teach the Children right off.
I love that lore. I love when bands have stories like that, dude.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Good, and it helps you because, man, being a fan of stuff is so fun. You know? It's something I've been just really meditating on recently. I feel like I spent so much of my 20s defining my character and personality by stuff that I don't like. Just being like, oh, that's not for me, and cultivating a really particular set of taste and sensibilities. And then I feel like I'm spending my 30s learning to like stuff, because liking stuff is way more
so much better. Yeah.
if you can like more things, guess what? You're in a universe full of things. So if you like a higher ratio of the things that are available to you, then you will walk through life having a better time.
Yeah. Yep. No, I said the same thing. I just had this conversation. I got a younger cousin who's kind of following in my footsteps of liking the younger, just out of college, and he's like liking the music and live shows, loves going to live shows. Yeah. That was me. I still do. And he started taking me to shows, and he's like, I went to school down south, Myrtle Beach. These guys are huge. I'm telling you, they're not going to have a huge crowd in Boston, but they're huge down there. You'll love them. They shouldn't be playing this small of a place in Boston. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. And he's right. And it's like, it's a country band who I used to say I didn't when I was really young, and I'm not really into country music because I didn't like what was being played on my country radio. Right. Like I just wasn't into that. But I was like, oh, well, that's country. That's damn good country. Yeah. Like I love that music, And so he's taking me to some shows, and I'm like, I really like that band. It's just a cool thing to discover, It's like you really do love country music. You just didn't like what you were listening to. When
Man, that happened to me just like a couple years ago. I was with one of my mentors from high school. I was visiting Florida. I was talking to him, and he started just talking about how much he was into reggae, and I was like, LOL, dude, reggae is like a joke. You want to hear a reggae song? You want to hear another one? It's like all, but then he's like, no, dude, you need to listen to Daniel Tosh, and you need to listen to Toots and the Maytals, and like Peter Tosh, Toots and the Maytals. So put me on a bunch of that stuff, and then like Super Ape, and like all this stuff, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. This is like stoned out, wavy music. Now like I love reggae, so it's just like, there's a lot of reggae. I like liking more things. Yeah,
it's good. It's even that's a good lesson in life too. I find it. You'll find people you work with, they're like, oh, there's always drama, there's always negative stuff, and it's like I always think to myself, especially now that I'm older and wiser at 35, I always think like it must be hard to go through the day like finding that much negativity in what you're doing.
Right?
Like you're searching for it. Don't search for that stuff.
Yeah. Think about that with social media too. Circle back too, dude. Yeah. Like, I can feel the like pressure change if I ever am like frustrated and shoot out a tweet or whatever. Yeah. I'm usually like super embarrassed within the course of like 5 hours and go back and delete it. So it's like, dog, you put something negative out. Yeah. You're just like, you have the control to not issue negative statements from your mouth and like practice it.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, the social media world. And it's funny, there is like what they call them, keyboard warriors. Yeah. They feel like you can. Yeah. You really should treat the social media thing like real life. Like the high schools around here have been having issues with that because you might write something to a team or something. It's, Word. And it's like if you wouldn't say it in real life, right? Don't write it on. Right. It's just keyboard warriors. People feel like they're untouchable there, but
anonymity, distance. You don't have to look somebody in the face. Yeah. It's really hard to look somebody in the eyes and be a jerk. Yeah.
I guess
at least it takes courage to do that.
We're covering a lot of ground here. This is good. This is a good public service announcement. This is perfect. I've heard some of my favorite artists, like Springsteen refers to it as his magic trick. It's not just one trick, but it's many things. But trying to win crowds over, especially with that blank slate that you have here. A lot of these rooms in the Northeast. What's the thing that like you try to captivate an audience with? Is there like, do you have that magic trick? Or?
Yeah, on this tour, I definitely have been practicing it. So on that like polarity of just like loud, quiet music.
Yeah.
Quiet. So I grew up in punk and hardcore, and then by the time I was in college, I was like mature. So then I was like playing folk and like hipster, whatever, like pitchfork music. And then on our last album and the one that we're writing now, we're throwing it all the way back, skewing way heavy, going deeper into genre stuff than I ever have, and just being delighted by it. But I got to keep it fresh for myself too, doing it in this capacity as one person. I can't be thinking about what I'm not hearing, because I can hear the record in my head, and you can't. You can only hear me and my guitar.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this quiet is the new loud punk thing of like, as soon as the show begins, instead of walking out and being like, what's up, Boston?
Yeah.
I just start off singing our song, Sad Boy at the Skeleton Party. And when we do it live with the full band, we do 4-part harmonies, super slow, like rubato, harmonically dense, and it always captivates people because they don't expect a bunch of like tough, spooky looking dudes to break out into like angelic harmonies.
Right.
I'm doing the same thing but by myself, and in a room where there's a dude on stage and he just starts singing but super quiet without the guitar and everything else, people hush and they're like, and with it, before the end of my first phrase, I can usually get the room, pull them right there.
The magic trick.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's cool.
It is a fun exchange of energy.
Well done. I don't think I've ever asked that question in that way. To have a real solid answer for it. That was good. Well done. I like that. Different show, different day. This scene brings a different answer. It's perfect. Touring solo versus a band. Usually the answer to this is that there's rewards for both. Sure. Is there a part? Is that true? Do you like them equally? Do you like one?
Friends. I love my freedom, man. I mean, there's times that it sucks just to even have to like do the drive by yourself when you're tired, or like any of these experiences that I'm having. I would be having way more fun if my brothers were here. But I love being alone. I love listening to podcasts. And it's nice to not have to worry about keeping anyone else happy. I eat where I want to eat. I take breaks when I want to take breaks. The older I've gotten, the more comfortable I've been doing introvert stuff. That's why, because I try to, and it's big like this on tour, just be by myself all day and be quiet all day, so that when I get there at 8, because from 8 to 1 in the morning, I'm on, baby. Like I'm selling the shirts, I'm selling the songs, I'm shaking the hands, I'm getting paid. You're all on all the time. So I am cherishing the downtime to just shut up and binge podcasts, and
Well, we appreciate you taking some of that downtime to come in here. We appreciate that very much. I know it is. It's tough. Sometimes you got to manage what you're doing, so we appreciate it very much coming to our Newburyport studios here. Joshua Powell, mad respect for coming in the first song. I know it's an afternoon show. It's early for a musician. Hitting the falsettos there early on. I meant to mention that after that first song. Good for you going for it.
That was I felt that. As soon as I went in, I was like, this is
why did I launch into this?
I remembered this. I remembered the low parts of this song when I picked it.
And where am I again? Newburyport? Okay. Seriously though, man, it was great to meet you. It's been a lot of fun. I love meeting new artists, especially good ones like you, and it's fun, man. Fan forever. Come back next time you come through.
100%.
Bring the band. We fit full bands in here.
That would be awesome.
Do whatever you got to do. But seriously, pleasure to meet you. You want to play us out with one?
Would love to.
All right. Thank you to our crew again, Sarah Hayden, Ryan Rothberg, Sarah Blackstone here running this place here this afternoon. We appreciate you all so much. Live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive, Joshua Powell.
This is my newest song called 100,000 Werewolves that uses lycanthropy as an extended metaphor for trauma. Hope you like it. You showed up standing in my bedroom in nothing but your underwear. It was the evening of your burial. I did not expect to see you there. One pale hand
promised land. Don't let the left one know where the right one goes. Just like 100,000 maggots bursting out your brand new crib, I kept 100,000 memories, maybe most of all the Utah trip, and the tablet of LSD, and the desert of empathy, couple of new cadets, just tearing our minds to shreds. There were 100,000 werewolves, and I didn't call my friend the moon. Faced with 100,000 werewolves, my only thought to warn you. But of course you somehow already knew. New wonders never quit, baby, of course you did. I know I need to see a counselor, I don't wanna bother you with that. I need 100,000 werewolves, all crammed into a mushroom cap, and to find me a funeral home, one that I can make my own. Do what we love to do, make music to sleepwalk to. I had a dream I was the demon that got cast into a herd of pigs. If I'm not living in Los Angeles, am I really making it? It's been a minute since I had the panic fits, and I'm not the Buddha yet, but sometimes I think we've met. There were 100,000 werewolves in the prime of their disfigurement, but you're not shaken in the slightest. No, I envy your enlightenment. One pale hand in the promised land. Don't let the left one know where the right one goes.